This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, a continuity of business solution for industries that struggle with traditional banking. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Today, I'm talking to Rahul Sood. He is an amazing serial entrepreneur. He and I are Twitter OGs. We've been following each other on Twitter for like more than a decade now. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about what token projects are running into from the perspective of exchanges. So, Rahul, thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Been busy, but it's all really good stuff happening. I'm one of the freaks in crypto that is really excited about the bear market. I am so glad that this is happening. And I think that'll we'll touch into that why I think it's a good thing.
Well, I think I know why.
It's good for me. But before we jump in, you have an amazing tech past and entrepreneurial past, and your current project Unikrn. Now you're in crypto, but can you just go into what you're doing with crypto right now?
Sure. Well, I'll touch on what Unikrn is. Unikrn is a global esports and video game platform. It's unikrn.com. You can check it out now. And we have a community around esports and video games, and it all revolves around our token economy, which is the Unikrn. Unikrn has a very significant betting component to our business, and it's a regulated betting component, and it involves betting on esports and video games. So if you think about what we are as a company, Unikrn sits at the intersection of video games and esports, blockchain technology, and regulated wagering.
Fun. So where are you based? It doesn't sound like you're based in the United States.
Yeah, we are actually. It's
really
what we're doing is completely legal. Like we operate in markets where we're allowed to operate in, where we're licensed and regulated, and we don't operate in markets where we're not. But I'm based in Seattle, so yeah. So I'm based actually. I used to be with Microsoft. So before this, I was with Microsoft. I ran Microsoft. I started Microsoft Ventures actually, and ran that globally. And then before that, I was with HP. They acquired a company that I started years ago in the video game business. But I've been in gaming forever, and I work very closely with a number of the tech people in the Seattle ecosystem. But anyway, so I'm based in Seattle. Unikrn was started in Seattle. But now we have offices all over the place, and there's a number of reasons why we're distributed the way we are. But we started in 2014. We've got a big office in Sydney, Australia. We have two studios in Berlin. Then we have an office in Croatia, in Poland, New York, Las Vegas, Seattle, Isle of Man, and Malta. So we're all over.
Just a few. Well, you're decentralized, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's very much decentralized, in the sense of how we operate our business. And the reason is you cannot find people with the DNA to run a business like we do in one place. You can't just put them in one building.
Right.
You have to have betting and like sports betting expertise, odds making, things like that. You have to have technical blockchain expertise, around security and tokenization and things like that. And then of course esports expertise. So it's hard to find all of that in like people in one area of the world. So
even with our own project, our team's scattered all over the country, and we have now brand ambassadors going up in 9 countries right now. So for our project, so it's like, I like that so much better, because the magic lifestyle, like when my wife and I talk about what's the ideal lifestyle, it's totally being geography independent for our livelihood. And to me, it's just that's what we always wanted.
Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of startups are operational that way now. I mean, with WeWork the way it is, we have offices in WeWorks all over the place. And what's cool is you can walk in, you can walk out, you can have people working in different locations. Like in New York, for example, we have a number of people there, but we don't have a set office. They work at different WeWorks, and there's 70 WeWork locations in New York, so they just go wherever they want. It's pretty cool. And we also have someone in London as well. So yeah.
Oh, just London. But but I think that talks a lot about the way the future workforce is going. Like, we're based in Salt Lake City. I live in Utah, and even now we have a huge crypto hub here, and you drive around now and all the Class A office space is for lease. All this old office space is just going up, and there's signs on every building. And I live in a pretty nice part of town, and and it's kind of interesting because the economy is supposed to be the best economy ever. Now that's questionable in my mind, but the numbers look pretty good for most people. But yet the office space is still just vacant everywhere. And I think the workforce is changing.
Yeah, I think the world is changing. I think the idea of signing long-term leases and stuff just isn't a part of their future. I think they have to change their business models. Obviously, WeWork is disrupting office space like Uber is disrupting, transportation or taxis, right? There's even another interesting company, Turo, like they're doing a great job of disrupting rental cars, So there's a lot of companies like that doing this sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, it's like, when I first became an entrepreneur, 20 years ago, it's like, you get these, and I rip on MBAs because I am one, but these MBAs turned entrepreneurs tend to be the worst because their idea of being an entrepreneur is just getting another office with like a $10,000 Merlin phone system and, and really Aeron chairs or whatever they call those things. And that was like, well, you have to have all these vestiges of the old office. And, it's funny because we're non-religious homeschoolers in our house, and we've always homeschooled our kids. And to us, homeschooling was a lot like that too. It's like basically becoming entrepreneurial for your kids' education. And for us, it was like people like, well, do you have a chalkboard on the wall and you have a desk in the living room? No, that's not how it works. It's like we're not replicating a model. We're doing something very different. And I think being a part of the blockchain space is really exciting because of that. But I think there's also a lot of downfalls being so early into this space because the stakes are pretty high. And I think when you have, vast amounts of wealth shifting into this space, not only that, you get a lot of people that are just looking for, a quick turnaround on cash, but you're also getting a lot of scammers in the space. And that's why I reached out to you to talk a little bit with me today. Something that, I've seen a lot of times in the crypto space is a project myself. And, recently you were on Twitter, I think you're venting a little bit and I shared your frustration. You're talking about different exchanges and you named names, Akyax and others, and talked about how they wanted you to do some things that may have been kind of unethical. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you sort of touched on it in your talk just there that the crypto space last year was pretty nuts. It was like the year of the ICO, Bitcoin going to 20,000. Everybody was jumping in. The problem is that there's a lot of people jumping in that are opportunists, and there's a lot of people that are mostly speculators in the crypto space, just like buying and selling tokens like crazy. Trading, shorting, going long, and they are doing it for the sake of just enriching themselves. And there isn't a lot of utility going on, especially last year. There wasn't a lot of utility in the space, meaning people aren't actually using these tokens for anything other than to speculate on, which I guess is it's to be expected in a space that's highly unregulated, and there's a lot of exuberance and that sort of thing. But at the same time, all these new projects were standing up, these new coins are standing up, and they want to list their tokens. And these exchanges, many exchanges, if not most exchanges, were being very opportunistic in the sense that they were charging massive amounts to token teams to list on the platforms. Mm-hmm. And we have a philosophy that, we won't pay listing fees. We won't do it because, for us, getting on an exchange is about discovery. Meaning that the customer, say in South Korea, gets on an exchange and they want to learn what is Unikrn Gold. They're going to discover the platform. They're going to search up Unikrn Gold. They're then going to go to Unikrn and they're going to see that we have this really cool esports platform with a working token economy. Maybe they want to participate on it. That was our initial intent for getting on an exchange. that still doesn't address the accessibility issue, which is how do you make it easy for customers? How do you make crypto easy for customers? And we can get into that after, but that's what we've been working on. You know, how to make it seamless, how to put blockchain in the background so it doesn't look like a bunch of engineers created the product, but we created it beautifully for users, you know, that sort of thing. And what we noticed was there were some exchanges that were saying, hey, look, you know, you pay us like $1 million or $300,000 and you know, in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we'll list your token. And they did that. Like, they charged so many teams. In fact, I would argue that they probably stripped, you know, anywhere between 20 and 30% of all the liquidity and cash in the space, and took it away from token teams to develop their products so they could, you know, basically, you know, they're just being almost greedy in a way. Like, many of them were being greedy. And then on top of that, you know, there's this issue of liquidity. So I recently got a note from, you know, from a couple of exchanges, OKEX being one of them, saying, hey, you know, the liquidity of Unikrn Gold is not where it needs to be on our system. You know, we need to get the liquidity up. So basically, what is your plan to boost liquidity in the next month? And they pointed out their market making offers that they have. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell? So hold on, you want us to pay you to basically market make for us to show that there's liquidity on the token so that customers will feel safer? Like, I don't get that, right? And it's clear to me that, you know, they basically want to charge for more services, right? That, right, you know, quite frankly, are misleading. You know, they would be misleading to me as a potential consumer of a product. If I see a token that all of a sudden has, you know, 1 to 5 million volume a day, I'm wondering what's going on with that token, right? And if it's fake volume, or if it's just wash trading back and forth, that doesn't really say much for the, you know, the platform itself. So for us, you know, we believe that, you know, users, like, in order for crypto to get to the next stage, we can't support that type of activity. We can't support fake liquidity. We can't support wash trading. We can't support exchanges that are going to charge us in any way that they can to continue to support their business. We would much rather focus on our own business, which is building the world's best esports platform, building the best products around wagering, around non-wagering, everything we can to build a token economy and not worry about their business. And that's our stance. I mean, you know, we shortly got an email afterwards asking for a deposit, you know, like a significant amount, a customer deposit, a deposit to ensure that we won't go away, some sort of safety deposit. It's like, come on, guys, like, we're not stupid, right? Like, we know that many of these exchanges need money right now because their business model is flawed, because their business model was slowly based on listing fees and charging token teams. Now that token teams don't have money for that they actually have to develop product, they're in trouble. And there are some exchanges out there that actually have legit businesses. Exchanges like Bittrex, who are legitimately building a real company, regulated in the U.S. You know, they only list top tier tokens. You know, they do a ton of due diligence on them, and they don't charge listing fees, right? They have a different business model.
Well, yeah, and I think this is part of the problem with, one, all the ICOs pretty much were illegal in the United States. But I think the problem is that you had a lot of dumb money or inexperienced people, projects getting a really just incredible raises for, you know, something with a white paper, which you would even get in a normal raise with a business plan. And I think this was insane. When I started getting into crypto and really looking at it, I'm like, this makes no sense. And when we launched our project and started interacting and applying to different exchanges, and I realized pretty quickly the model was based on dumb money. Because to me, especially, we're basically in the process of going from ERC20 token to our own blockchain. So we're actually launching a new blockchain for our project and kind of regrowing and rebranding. But what we found is that these please, you know, I mean, even a brand new exchange would want 2, 3, 4, 5 Bitcoin and, you know, amount of tokens for liquidity. And I would turn around and they would get really frustrated with me, because I'm kind of the same point. I won't pay listing fees, because the business model should be, you make profit off the trades. That's your value add. But what's happening, and I think this is the problem with crypto at this point really isn't being bought and sold for goods and services pretty much anywhere yet. It's still so early compared to all the speculative trading. And what I said to some of these projects, I'm not going to pay you a listing fee. And they say, why? And I would say, because you're not going to bring value to my project. Just being listed on your brand new exchange is not going to give me trade volume. Like, you don't have an existing customer base that's going to bring, you know, more true liquidity to our project. And to me, that would be a bad use of our limited resource. We didn't do an ICO, you know, so we're bootstrapped. So I kind of I'm an entrepreneur. I got to be smart with my money, you know, kind of thing. And so that really seemed to frustrate people. But, you know, it's not even just, I found some of those exchanges out there. Like, I'll name names, Coin Payments. You know, they're one of the few, there's like one of the, I don't know, for integrating with a Shopify purchase. We were originally looking to integrate with Shopify. And there's only 3 payment gateways that they allow that crypto to be used on the Shopify platform. And you have to go through these third parties, and Coin Payments is one of them.
Right.
And Coin Payments is already set up for, and this is before we were going to do our chain. They wanted $150,000 per year to integrate our ERC20 into their dropdown with like the hundreds of other ERC20s.
Yeah, totally ridiculous.
And I told the guy, you're out of your mind. And what that tells me is, okay, they did the legwork to get into the Shopify, because you have to be at a certain level before Shopify will consider you a safe payment gateway to work. I get that, right? Yeah. And I'm not opposed to doing a setup fee, but let's be honest, if you already are set up for ERC20, adding another ERC20 token,
you're already set up. Yeah.
It's like, what, 15 seconds to type in the, you know, and I'm not picking on Coin Payments, but I think that they're emblematic of the problem is that they got their business models all skewed. Their business model are based on listing fees. But to me, I don't even know how, even if any entrepreneur of an ERC20 project paid that money to them and actually paid that fee, I think I would question the intelligence, or at least the business acumen of that entrepreneur, because just increasing that liquidity on your own token, or being the perception of that, because I don't believe they're doing enough trade volume of goods and services on Shopify to justify 150K a year. I mean, and as a token, you don't get any trade, you know, you don't get any transaction fees or miner fees, you know, running as a token on someone else's blockchain to begin with. So yeah, I in some ways, I mean, it's disappointing that so many of these awesome services are, I don't like the word gouging, because people can charge what they want, but I think it's misguided.
No, I'll say gouging. I mean, people were gouging, you know, and the reality is that, you know, 2,000 tokens were created, say, like last year, and you know, the majority of them are going to disappear. Like 97%, I think, will disappear.
I agree.
Like, there's 3% of them that are really good that are buried underneath a pile of crap. And you know, hopefully we start to see some of those get delisted, and then over time, the ones that are buried will be exposed, and people will start looking at them differently. Like, they'll start to discover what the platforms actually do and whether they want to participate and that sort of thing. And you know, when you talk about most of the ICOs, or you know, even all of the ICOs in the US, you know, the legality of them, you know, they were mostly sold as securities, and therefore, you know, they're mostly illegal, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, in the case of our platform, we've had a working token economy since 2015. You know, we didn't just come up with Unicorn Gold and say, let's raise a bunch of money to start a unicorn. I mean, we already had it working. You know, we built a token economy around Unicoin, which was called Unicoin Silver at the time, and still is. Well, sorry, it was called Unicoin at the time, but we renamed it to Unicoin Silver last year when we started Unicoin Gold. And effectively, you know, people can come to our platform. They can connect their gaming accounts, whether it's Fortnite, League of Legends, Dota, CSGO, you know, Rocket League, like a bunch of different games. You can connect to the platform, and you earn tokens just by playing the games and winning. You earn both silver and gold. And then you can use those tokens for skins, raffles, like jackpots. You can basically win digital items. You can trade in digital items for tokens. So you actually can trade in skins that have value into tokens. And then depending on what market you're in, you're able to actually bet with those tokens, you know, on esports, like bingo type games, or watching games and placing odds bets, are actually betting on yourself. And in the US, you can actually do that in 41 states now. So it's, you know, this is real shit that's really working. And I think most platforms that you look at don't actually have a working economy. So.
Are you on your own blockchain, or are you a token on somewhere else like
So
Ethereum?
no, we're an ERC20 token. But we have like an on-chain, off-chain experience, because the problem is when you're doing live betting on sports or esports or any type of betting, you want it to be really fast. So our platform supports 9,000 transactions per second, but the user is a custodian of their tokens. They have their own private key. You know, the wallet is locked to the platform. We have some really tight AML and KYC systems put in place. You know, we actually just announced about a little over a month ago, we're now the only company on earth, forget about esports, we're the only company in the world with a license from the Isle of Man for wagering, for live wagering on sports, esports, online casino, and skill gambling using fiat and cryptocurrency. They've never given that license out to anybody before. And the reason we got it is because of the systems we put in place. So.
How many users do you have currently, or do you, if you don't want to disclose, it's fine.
No, I have no problem with disclosing it. So we have about 4 million people that use our communities, like our broader community, whether it's our tournament platform, whether it's our content, whether it's our game servers. They access our community that way. And we have about a little over 100,000 people that are using the platform as bettors. And as we turn them into, you know, actual real money or Unikrn Gold bettors, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we only just got the license a couple months ago to do fiat and cryptocurrency in about, it'll cover about 30 countries in the end.
Well, high five.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, I'm serious, because, you know, one of the things that, you know, I used to be in the angel capital world, and you know, I've been around startups for a long time, and with crypto over the last year, it's been amazing watching this market, because some things are just so absurd, but some things are just amazing because I see the opportunities. And one of the things I always joke about is like these raises on white papers. I'm like, you don't even, it's an avatar of a monkey hold a banana. You're going to give those guys $15 million. But the thing is, I tell people, it's like, and Bitcoin maximalists are really bad at this. And I like to pick on the maxis, as I call them. But the fact is, no one's buying. Most people aren't buying and selling goods and services to crypto yet. It's just so early. Everybody conflates the number of investors, I call them investors, people that are just speculators, with users. And even with our project, we're working on getting actual customers for our, I don't know if you know what we're doing with TUS, but we're basically creating an actual payment system. We're going after the holy grail, but we're focusing on niche vertical markets, and we're starting with the gun industry. Now, cool. But and we're focusing on guns because it's one of the unbanked industries, or one of the 5 major groups that has problems with banking. And I actually used to work in the industry, and I have friends and partners in the industry, and I got advisors for our project from the gun industry. And
it's funny that you bring that up, because we're in one of those unbanked industries, which is why we built Unikrn on blockchain.
Exactly, gambling.
Dealing with banks was a nightmare. So we created our own. You know, our own platform, you know, our own token economy, and then ultimately, we're actually building a bank with Palladium. So in Malta, awesome. we set up. We're doing a deal with this group, this Palladium group. We're building an exchange partnered with Bittrex, and we're actually building a bank. So it's pretty cool. But it's really just about sort of the future of the space and helping companies like Unikrn bank their crypto, and also just bank in general.
Well, we'll actually have to talk offline, because we're going to be doing some interesting things too. But our emphasis and bottom line is, these are, even if they're projects or community projects, right? I hate the term, but they're all businesses, right? Let's just be real. They're startups, right? They still have to conform to the laws of business. Like, you need customers, you need to deliver a product, you need to like return your investors money, maybe not buy a Lambo before you like type some code. You know, I mean, those things are all basic. And that's what I was saying earlier, is I'm real excited about this bear market, because I think you're right. I agree with your assessment. I think 97% of the ICO projects are going to go away. I think it might take 12 to 18 more months to flush it all out. And I think it's going to be a combination of regulatory problems and just the fact that they're just bad ideas, you know, and I think.
And there's not enough good developers to sustain that, to be honest. Like, there just isn't. You know, there's a lot of these projects don't have good developers. They don't have developers. They're just a bunch of marketing people on a white paper that manage to raise a bunch of money. You know, so yeah.
And even with us, when we started, we had 6 of us co-founders with 1 dev when we did our first contract, and now at the new project we have 18 people, 9 of which are devs.
Right.
And so and it was hard. I couldn't find blockchain devs because they're just not. I found a lot of senior devs that were interested in blockchain, and that's who I recruited to grow the project into what it is now. So I hear that. But I think the future is amazing with this stuff. And I think projects like yours, where you actually have a real token, a utility token that really does something, is really impressive. And I really, really like what you guys are doing. And I like to hear successful people actually making crypto into something, because I think the last 12 months has actually it's put crypto on the map, but all the scams and the gouging and all the craziness and the regulatory stuff is scaring people and has scared people out. And it's going to take some time to build public confidence, I think, to look at crypto again. But the companies like yours and hopefully mine, when we get there over the next 12 months, 18 months, those are the ones that are going to be the true diamonds, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that, there's a reason that we work very closely with Bittrex. They're a legit exchange, and they actually are helping. They don't look at themselves as just a token exchange. They look at themselves as a platform to help the top tokens be successful, right? And so they're building tools. Like I talked about accessibility earlier. We now have the capability for customers to come to our website, swipe a credit card, and buy tokens and use them right away on the platform. But they're buying them from the exchange. They're not buying them from Unikrn. So it's not like we're continuing to sell tokens. We're not. They are buying it directly through Bittrex using this API that we built together, on the platform. And there's a bunch of other stuff we're building together too, but it's really just about making this shit easier, because right now it's it's not easy for a regular consumer to use these products. You look at some of the platforms that have been developed in the last year, and they're just like, it looks like a bunch of engineers created it with no idea about what user experience is, and I mean, I hate to say it, I don't want to, call anybody out, but like, look at Augur, for example, right? The first rendition of Augur was like disaster, and they raised a ton of money, but it was such a horrible product. It took ages to download, and then when you download it, you're like, what is this thing? How do you use it? It was just weird. But I think the point is that going forward, projects need to think about, or companies, or whatever you want to call them, need to think about how do you build a real product for real people, and then is blockchain a necessary step, and a blockchain is necessary to building a great experience, or it can be part of it, then just put it in the background. The customer doesn't need to know it's on blockchain. They just need to use the product.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And it comes at and I say this, let's start with number one. Go look at the top projects on CMC or any of the other trackers. And I did this. And you go to like the top 20, and then look at every one of their websites' team page, and look what's missing from those teams. And almost unilaterally, there's a couple of small exceptions. These companies with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in market cap don't have any sales, marketing, or business development people on the teams.
Right.
They don't even have them. And I'm like, okay, we don't have mass adoption. Regardless, we have investor adoption, but we don't have mass adoption. And I said, look, and this is what I said with our guys, look, we're going to have a strong development team, but the bottom line is we have to actually create something that solves a problem for people, and we need to put that in front of those people.
Yeah, you need to create something that people want. That's right.
Yeah, grandma doesn't have. See, I always joke around, and I get hazed when I go to conferences because I'm like, grandma does not give a shit about decentralization.
Yeah.
Grandma doesn't have a problem with her debit card working if she can go and buy things at the store with it. So trying to tell grandma that the Federal Reserve's corrupt and fiat's horrible, it's just not there, right? It's not that makes no sense. And that's activism, right? That's more what that is. Whereas you say, look, maybe a gun dealer who, wants an insurance policy that he might be able to still take payments in case his bank decides to get political and debank him after the next mass shooting that occurs. Maybe there's something we can figure out for that guy, because he knows he's under threat of a problem. Or in the cannabis industry, for instance, they have the same, even a bigger problem currently. The banks won't even talk to them half the time.
Right.
Those are the people that need solutions. Those are the ones you need to talk with first.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do. It sounds like what you're trying to do. So besides the bank, what's in the future? Got any deep, dark things you can release about Unikrn you haven't told anybody else?
The one thing I can tell you is we just had a launch yesterday in the US. It's a quiet launch. We haven't announced it or anything yet. But we basically opened up U mode where, people can, depending on where you are, you can log into the Unikrn website. And if you see U mode at the top, you'll be able to use it. But basically, it's where you can back yourself in a game, let's say a Fortnite, for example, or other games, where if you want to bet like 100 Unikrns on yourself, you can do that. And then it puts odds on your chances of winning the game. It's pretty cool, actually, and it works on multiple platforms. It's live today, so depending on where you are, you'll be able to do it. So yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to take that look. Well, yeah. So I do appreciate you coming on the show today. Where can people find out more about Unikrn?
So you can go to www.unikrn.com, and that's the Unikrn site, or you can visit me on Twitter at Rahul Sood, RAHULSOOD.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.